Hello and welcome to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew. Unfortunately, Seth had an emergency and was not able to do the show today. There are some rumors. Some people saw him down at Centennial Airport this morning, boarding a private jet. We know that the St. Cloud State University head hockey position is opening, and maybe he is going out for an interview. We will check back and let you know tomorrow. Great games going on right now in the NCAA basketball tournament. The first half is in, and UNC is up 42-29 against the number one seed Baylor. So we will be keeping you up to date on that. The game is playing right here in the background. By the way, I am at Brothers Bar and Grill at the Shops of Northfield, just north of I-70 in Denver, Colorado. Come on down. The mezzanine section is open. Looks like there's a couple people standing in line, but they're kind of watching the games. Yeah. So, yeah, let them in. So, but yes, you can come down and watch us broadcast live right now. And there's plenty of games today. Again, on slate for today, 16 games. Tomorrow, another 16 games. So this is the time to watch the tournament, and this is the time to come down to Brothers. And the drink specials here are incredible. They have these 32-ounce Long Island iced teas. It's their signature drink. There's 4 different alcohols in them, and you can add, for just a little small additional charge, a flavored Red Bull that will enhance it and give you a little bit of a kick. So that way, while you're watching the games, you're not going to get sleepy. Let's switch up to hockey. And we had a kind of a disturbing incident happen in the NCHC tournaments. DU ended up losing, dropping a game to Duluth 2-0. That drops them out of contention for the NCHC Championship Tournament. Remember, folks, they're still ranked 3rd in the nation, and they won the regular season NCHC. So no worries. If you're going to lose a game, this is the game to lose. It gives you extra time to get ready for the Frozen Four tournament, at which they have an automatic bid for that. The breakdown is kind of interesting. Denver usually comes out and has tons of shots on goal. They only had 9 shots on goal in the first period. Duluth had 13 and ended up scoring a goal. So Magnus Corona let one to get through early on in this game. The next period was scoreless between both of them, although Denver only had 9 shots again on goal, which folks, from following DU hockey, they're averaging over 40 shots in games that they win handily, but they're definitely over 35 shots. So here we are, 2/3 of the way through, and they're only at 18 shots. The final period, Duluth picks up a goal. They have 10 shots on goal, and DU tries to kick it in and has 12 shots on goal to no avail. So once again, DU is on their way back from the tournament, and they'll hopefully get a couple days rest in, do some walkthroughs, maybe look at some film, and prepare for their first round game in the Frozen Four. The other game that I wanted to bring to your attention was Western Michigan of the NCHC scored 5 goals and beat North Dakota. So North Dakota's out. So we're going to have a final of Minnesota Duluth versus Western Michigan. Remember, Western Michigan has been in the top 5 almost all season. And Duluth, I'm telling you, they're coming out of the woodwork and just playing some of their best hockey right now when it counts most. The Western Michigan, the way it broke down, both teams scored a goal in the first period. Western Michigan only had 5 shots on goal. North Dakota, University of North Dakota, it's not North Dakota State, had 9 shots on goal. Second period, Western Michigan picked up 2 more goals, and North Dakota picked up a goal, 10 shots versus 8 shots. And then the last period was a goal by Western Michigan to get to their 4th. No goals for North Dakota, and again it was 11-6 for overall shots. So interesting. we'll be watching this game. It'll be played tonight, and Seth and I are going to be doing a broadcast tomorrow morning to cover all these games, these NCAA games. And the rest of our show is going to be basically covering some of the highlights of these first 32 games. What a great time for basketball, folks. Just absolutely love it. And, right now, here it is. It's in Denver. It's only 11:35 in the morning, and we have a 1 versus 8 that, is going to be one of the best games of the day. So remember to come down to Brothers. We're here in the mezzanine section. I told you a little bit about the drink specials. Come on down for the food as well. The patio, wraparound patio, is open. There's TVs out there, and it is a gorgeous day in Denver, Colorado. All right, so let's talk about what happened in the top teams. And I'm going to start out with the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They handed Georgia State a loss. It wasn't as lopsided as you may have thought. It was 62-58 with about 10 minutes left. Now, this is a 1 versus 16. And some people say that the Zags got a little exposed and that maybe some other teams can use that game film to see how to play against them. I'm not so sure. They came on so strong in the second 10 minutes of the second half, so it'd be basically the fourth quarter. And Timmy drains 32 points, has 13 rebounds, and Chet Holmgren, the freshman that I absolutely am in love with. I think he's the top freshman by far in the whole nation. He may be one of the top players. He's definitely in the top 3. He'll be a lottery pick this year in the NBA draft. He's 7 foot. He had a stat line of 19 points, 7 rebounds, 7 blocks, and 5 assists. Not bad for a freshman. I mean, that's incredible. This guy, and folks, you have to go and watch Gonzaga play. This 7-footer is just an amazing ball player. He plays both ends of the floor. If you watch when he's guarding somebody in the post, and he basically is like a 7-foot guard. I mean, he plays everywhere. But this guy is just incredibly talented on the defensive end. He goes up straight, and his arms are so long that he's getting pieces of so many different shots. It's got to be a nightmare to try to shoot over this guy. The next is Arizona. This is the team that I have picked that's going to win it all. And what's interesting about Arizona is their coach, Tommy Lloyd, is a former Zag assistant. So you have a little bit of Gonzaga in University of Arizona's offenses and defenses. You can kind of see the similarities if you get a chance to watch them play. They have a guy basically that, is doing extremely well. They killed Wright State, and there were 19 turnovers Arizona had against Wright State. But Arizona is just, really they are firing on all cylinders. They've won 16 of their last 17 ball games. So they're definitely a team you want to watch. They're the team that I think is going to win, even though I am hoping in my heart of hearts for Gonzaga. I've been a Zag fan from when Mark Few first started there back in 1999. Kansas, boy, they look tough, I'm telling you. They crushed Texas Southern. It was 47-19 at the half. Next up for them is Creighton. Look out, Creighton. I know you're playing pretty good ball right now, but this Kansas team is just running downhill, and they are kicking butt and taking names. Baylor, they beat Norfolk State. We're seeing Baylor as a number 1 seed is having a lot of trouble with the number 8 seed right now, North Carolina. So we'll keep you posted on this game throughout the show here. I'm just going to look over my shoulder and I'll give you some score updates. All right. So the second tier, and by no means second tier, Auburn was one of the top SEC schools all season long. Unfortunately, they got beat and in the tournament and dropped out early. But they played against Jacksonville State. Deion Sanders, the head coach, football coach there. And the Gamecocks just did not have enough steam. They lost 80-61. Auburn's got a gentleman by the name of Kessler, 13 points, 10 rebounds, 9 blocks. One away from a triple-double if you're keeping track here. Now, there have only been 2 triple-doubles ever in the NCAA tournament, and it's Shaq and this other guy named Cole Aldridge. The other person you want to watch when you watch Auburn is Jabari Smith. He's projected to be in the top 5 of the draft, so he could also end up being a lottery pick. He had 20 points, 14 rebounds. Next up for Auburn is Miami, and they play on Sunday. It's a late game. Folks, I'm telling you right now, this Miami team, and I've been talking about them ever since I watched them play in the ACC tournament. They've got 2 6-year seniors. They've got a bunch of experience. These guys have played a lot of basketball, and it's going to be a tough out for Auburn. So I think that right there is going to be one of my top 4 games to watch here in the first part of the second round. Tennessee, I called it. I said Tennessee was going to win the ACC tournament. They did. They beat Longwood. Longwood 88-56. Tennessee plays defense. They get up and down the court. Look for Tennessee to go to the next round. They're going to be playing against Michigan, who came off of a win, beat our Colorado State, and Rams. I'm so disappointed in the Mountain West, and this is a good time to talk about it. We had 4 Mountain West teams. First time in a long time that many teams from the Mountain West got in. They all lost, every single one of them. It was not pretty either. Wyoming lost in a play-in game to Indiana, and Colorado State just laid an egg, really. Roddy, the Mountain West Player of the Year, did not show up. He had 11 points at halftime. He ended up scoring, I think, 13. He was running away from the ball the entire second half. I kept looking for him. I'm like, just get him a shot, get him a three-pointer, get him an open look, let him get going. And next thing I know, there's 10 minutes left in the game, and he still hasn't. He's taken 2 shots. He gets fouled, and a lot of times, with a jump shooter, if they get fouled and they have a 2-shot foul, and they can hit and stroke 2 foul shots, it can get them going on the floor. Roddy goes 1 for 2, and then runs away from the ball for the second 10 minutes, and ends up, Colorado State was just disappointing. I think they could have beaten this Michigan team. I think it would have been great to see them paired against Tennessee and seen what they could do. Unfortunately, I know I had bad games when I played. You get into that funk sometimes. You can't snap out of it, and you just can't buy a basket. And one thing about Roddy is he wasn't playing like an Iverson or a Kobe Bryant where he couldn't shoot and he just kept shooting. He tried to get the ball to some of the other teammates that were scoring, but you just can't have the Mountain West Player of the Year in the NCAA tournament playing against a tough Michigan team not touch the ball. Or every time he touches the ball, pass it and go pick away. So, unfortunately, we're not going to see the matchup I want, but you know what? Let's watch and see what Tennessee does with Michigan. Michigan's a deceptive team. Juwan Howard's got his team playing the best basketball they've played all season. Villanova. No one's talking about Villanova. Villanova beat Delaware. And Joe Biden is crying somewhere. I'm just kidding. Biden never went to Delaware. He's University of Scranton, I believe, and then he did his law school at Syracuse University, where he finished 65th out of 84 in his law class. Anyways, Jay Wright is always tough. You got to remember, now Villanova has won the NCAA tournament in 2016 and 2018. They're a tough team. Jay Wright is a great coach. They are going to be playing against Ohio State on Sunday afternoon. They're coming off, an 80-60 victory over Delaware. Duke beat Cal State Fullerton 78-61. Is this the game that gives them the confidence and the momentum for these young guys for Duke? Remember, there are 5 freshmen starting for Duke. They're all McDonald All-American, but they have had a really rough run of it lately. Ever since they lost to North Carolina in the regular season finale, Coach K night, they haven't looked like the same team. Now, it's going to be interesting. Coach K says youth and experience, pressure on on his kids because of his retirement hasn't been a distraction. Well, this is great. They had a nice, easy win over Cal State Fullerton. Sometimes that's all it takes. And if you get Duke on a roll with the talent that they have, I mean, they could go all the way to the Final Four, no problem. So we'll be watching them. What's next up for Duke? Well, let me tell you, it is going to be a treat. And it's on Sunday at 3:15 Mountain Standard Time. We've got Coach K versus Izzo from Michigan State. Michigan State is an up-and-coming team. They've really finished well. They did well. They went pretty far in the Big Ten tournament. Tom Izzo, Coach K, one last time we get a chance to watch two of the best coaches, I believe, in the nation and also, of all time, really square off against each other. So we'll be watching closely. Remember, that's Sunday at 3:15. That's a game you want to put on your calendar. All right, we move on to the 3 seeds, or what they consider 3 seeds now. And we have Wisconsin, who beat Colgate. Colgate's close to my heart. A guy in my league, Tad Brown from Trumansburg, went there and played 4 years. They recruited me a little bit, talked to the coach a number of times. They're out of Hamilton, New York. They played a pretty good ball game, and they just about upset Wisconsin. Wisconsin looked horrible. They didn't play well one bit. And Colgate lost 67-60. Johnny Davis from Wisconsin had 25.8 rebounds. What really saved Wisconsin was, as poor as they played, they only had 5 turnovers for the entire game. So really what was happening was they just shot a really horrible shooting percentage from the floor, and that's what kept Colgate in the game. And not to take anything away from Colgate, they played a great game, represented their conference so well. I'm very proud of those guys. Purdue. Let me tell you about Purdue. No one's talking about them either. Purdue beat Yale. Now, Yale had won the Ivy League. It was 78-56, not a game at all. But you've got Zach Edney, who plays for Purdue. Folks, this is another person you should be watching. Okay, not just Holmgren, the 7-footer from the Zags, but this gentleman is 7'4", and he can play. When he posts you down low, if he catches the ball, he's going to score. He had a pretty good ball game, ended up with 16 points. The guy you really want to watch on Purdue is Jaden Ivey. Now, he is projected to be the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft. He had 22 points. So Purdue's got a kind of a sneaky game against Texas, but I think you're going to see Purdue really start putting it together and getting some momentum, and they're going to roll Texas pretty well. And so you'll be looking for that game. It's a late game on Sunday night. Folks, you get home, you're thinking about Monday, click that game on and go ahead and watch it. And I think it's going to be an interesting game. But I think you're going to see down the stretch, the last 10 minutes, Purdue and their superior talent is going to just be too much for Texas. Texas Tech played against Montana State, 97-62, blew them out. But Texas Tech, they're talking, and there's some buzz that they may be a sleeper Final Four team. So, we don't know what's going to happen. And that's one thing great about the NCAA tournament. We're looking here after one set of games, and we're starting to see some trends we want to watch and see exactly who has momentum, who doesn't have momentum, who's peaking, and who may be fading off into the sunset. Texas Tech, if you remember, he replaced Chris Beard. Chris Beard left and went to Texas. So we've got Chris Beard, who took Texas Tech in 2019 to the Final Four. The new coach here, Mark Adams, let's see what he can do, and let's see what happens with Texas Tech. They're playing against Notre Dame, a tough Big East school, and that's going to be on Sunday as well. There's a lot of good Sunday games. I'm telling you, you got this game that's going on right now. Let me see if I can give you a score update here. If I can look down there. 57 North Carolina, 38 Baylor. So that just gives you an idea. And it looks like there's about 12 and a half minutes left in the second half. again, I'll be starting to watch a little bit more so you guys can be kept up with that game, because I think this is the best game for the next probably at least until 4 or 5 o'clock tonight, honestly. All right, so we have Houston who beat UAB. Calvin Sampson's at Houston. That's one of the noteworthy coaches. You know, Calvin Sampson has been he's a veteran of the NCAA tournament, and he's made some runs with previous teams. Next up for Houston is Illinois. It's tough to tell. That right there is a toss-up, but it's a good game to watch. It's, again, another Sunday game, and you'll be able to watch that when you get out of bed tomorrow morning and you're having your brunch and your coffee. It starts at 10:10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. All right, let's see what else we got here. And let's talk a little bit about UCLA. UCLA beat Akron. It was a lot closer than you might want to think. Okay, they scared UCLA half to death. 57-53. Akron was up 49-42 with 6 minutes left to play. So this game wasn't put away till the very end, and Akron showed well and played way above their head. Now for UCLA, they've got themselves a very interesting next game against St. Mary's Gales. Now, everybody cuts on St. Mary's. They finished 16th in the overall AP Top 20. They're the second team in the West Coast Conference. Everybody says, oh, the West Coast Conference is soft, and Gonzaga just absolutely, is the best team, and it is. Gonzaga has been the cream of the crop. They've won somewhere close to, I think, 24 or 25 West Coast Conference championships, but not so fast. St. Mary's beat them, okay? St. Mary's beat them in the last regular season game of the season. The Gales, they beat Indiana relatively handily. Indiana was coming off a big win against Wyoming in the play-in games. And what you see a lot of times when you get a good team that's playing in a play-in game like an Indiana, they have the advantage because they've got a game underneath their belt, and then they turn around and play their first round game. Well, that didn't happen. St. Mary's rose to the occasion and beat them 82-53. So, people are saying about St. Mary's, whatever you want to say about them, but people are saying that they are built to compete against anybody in the country. So they're another one of the teams I'm going to be watching. Tennessee, Miami, St. Mary's. Those are my three so far that, I think can pull upsets in the next round of the tournament. So that game is going to be today, and this is the next game I think everyone really should watch at 5:10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time tonight. Big East regular season champs, Providence beat the Jackrabbits from North Dakota State. Again, I'm not sure why you have a mascot of an animal that can get taken down with a BB gun. But the Jackrabbits are the Jackrabbits. And actually, I do like their mascot. The symbol of their mascot is kind of funny, but I wouldn't want to be a Jackrabbit. The Jackrabbits were touted as being this team that's all dangerous. They had not lost since December 15th of 2021. So they had won their last, 16 games? I think it's 16 games. And they led the nation in three-point shooting percentage. Providence got in there, took care of business, and won the game 66-57. How good is Providence? Okay, remember, they won the Big East regular season championship. So they've been consistent in a tough league. Remember, Villanova's in that league. So it's not a cake league by any stretch of the imagination. Next up is my fourth team to watch. It's the Richmond Spiders. Okay? Chris Mooney, there were billboards around the Richmond area 3 years ago asking for people to fire this guy. And now he's got him playing extremely well. Now, they had a rough regular season. They finished 6th in the Atlantic 10 Conference. But if you were watching the tournament, they played themselves right into a victory, and they upset Iowa. Now, you Iowa people out there, after football season, when you guys were ranked so high and then finished so mediocre, it's got to be tough for you to watch a really tough Iowa team get beat by a Richmond Spider team, not even a good team in the Atlantic 10, but a team that's firing on all cylinders right now and is a team to watch. Who do they have? Who does Richmond play next? Well, of course, they're playing Providence. So this is a game that you want to mark on your calendar and watch it. A team like Richmond is a bracket buster. LSU, really disappointing, lost in the first round. Their coach, of course, was fired last week for recruiting violations. He must have done something really horrible because they canned him immediately. Well, it threw the team in disarray, and they ended up losing, and they're out of the tournament. Let's talk about the biggest surprise. Everybody's been waiting for it. The 2 versus 15 game. St. Peter's beats Kentucky. It's an overtime game, 85-79. St. Peter's, out of New Jersey, knocks off, a team that I thought was going to make it to the Final 8 at least, maybe into the Final 4, John Calipari. Just a little factoid here. John Calipari, okay, he's a Clarion graduate from the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. That's where he played. Same conference I played in. This gentleman has earned it, and he is making $8.5 million a year as a coach. Well, guess what? St. Peter's entire athletic budget is $7.5 million. So John Calipari is paid more than their entire athletic budget, yet St. Peter's pulls one of the biggest upsets, and it will be considered one of the largest upsets since 2018 when University of Virginia lost to a 16 seed. Now, there's been a couple notable 2-15 losses, and I talked about the first one that ever happened was in 1991 when Syracuse lost to the Richmond Spiders. It was heartbreaking for me because that 91 Syracuse team, I had a chance to go at least to the Final 4, if not win it all. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen. That's what makes this tournament great. I was listening just before we came on the air, and basically there are, after the first round, there are 7 double-digit seeds still left in this field. That is crazy. 7 out of 32 teams that are left are double-digit seeds. So folks, when you're watching that selection show and you see these teams that you may have never heard of, get in. Remember, next year when you're picking your bracket, these mid-major programs are starting to catch up with the one-and-dones and the transfer portal of the elites, okay? So watch for these mid-majors, and I know I'm going to do my bracket a lot differently next year. What else do we got here? It looks like Daryl Banks this is a kind of an interesting thing too. Daryl Banks, who plays for St. Peter's, the Peacocks, ended up scoring 27 points. Nobody knew who this kid was coming out of high school. And here he was beating McDonald All-Americans, 5-star recruits and 4-star recruits, dropping 27 on them in an overtime victory. So way to go, Daryl. Good luck in this next round. Really, that's about all I've got for the basketball. Let's take a look real quick down here and see how North Carolina's faring against Baylor. And it looks like it's 67-42. And there's about 10 minutes and 6 seconds left. Someone just got thrown out of the game for North Carolina. It's going to be interesting to see if that causes any problems with North Carolina's run. But right now, like I said, it's 67 North Carolina, 42 Baylor. Again, North Carolina is an 8 seed. Baylor is a number 1 seed. They are in serious trouble going into this final 10 minutes of this game to get them to the Sweet 16. I'm looking down there, and yes, it was a player for North Carolina, and I'll find out who it was who was thrown out of the game. Don't know the details, but we'll look and see. And again, we'll probably report a little bit on that tomorrow. Tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about the NHL Trade Deadline. Okay, that is on the 21st of this month. Today is the 19th. So 2 days from now, all trades must be completed in the NHL. Will the Avalanche go out and find any more people? The latest is that their center, who's been injured, he's going to make it back for the playoffs. It was minor surgery, so they don't have to go and try to fill that void. It'll be interesting to see what happens, and Seth and I will break that down for you in tomorrow's show. The Denver Post article that we have a list of probably about 15 or 16 possible people that may come, according to the Denver Post, and we'll see which ones are still in the mix and which ones have gone away. Everybody's talking about Deshaun Watson, the Deshaun Watson trade. Okay, you remember Deshaun Watson was the one who was accused, criminally speaking, of 22 women. Brought charges against him, and a couple guys brought charges against him. A federal court judge ruled just recently that there will be no criminal indictments. So it looks like it's a lot of he said, she said, and there may be some civil cases that will be taken care of. But guess what? Deshaun Watson can handle it. He just signed a guaranteed contract with Cleveland for $230 million. Okay, he will be paid $46 million per season for the next 4 years, and then after that, of course, the rest of the contract is made up with, incentives and all the other stuff that he will do. Baker Mayfield, I feel bad for him. He's being evicted right now as we speak from the Browns Stadium. His wife has already gotten into the moving van. It looks like it's a U-Haul van, and it's pointed somewhere out of town. So there will be no more commercials of Baker, grilling out, serving hot dogs. I mean, it has to be tough. Not only do you lose your team, but you lose your home too. It'll be interesting. We'll be following it closely to find out where he ends up. People are talking about the Colts. Carolina's looking for a quarterback. There's a lot of places looking for a quarterback. And unfortunately for Baker, he was hurt. He played hurt all last season. He did not have a good season statistically speaking. But he's a tough kid, okay? Remember, he was a walk-on, and he worked himself into the Heisman Trophy at Oklahoma. So I'm not ready to give up on Baker Mayfield in any stretch of the imagination. And I'm not happy about this trade one bit, because I do not want to have to face, as a Steeler fan, Deshaun Watson twice a year for the next however many years he's in Cleveland. It amazes me. I mean, I really thought he was going to go to Carolina or Atlanta, and I was hoping he would, because he wouldn't even be in the AFC. Worst case scenario, he ends up in my division in the AFC. So we'll be watching him, and again, it's just amazing the amount of money that teams are willing to pay for quarterbacks. We know the NFL is a quarterback-driven league. If you don't have a good quarterback, you've got no shot. Look at the Rams. They went out, they got Stafford, and ended up, with a whole bunch of other, trades that they made. They gave up all their draft picks, and it paid off for them. So Sean McVay has a winning formula, and it looks like some of the other teams in the league are catching on and doing the exact same thing. The money for these quarterbacks is off the charts. Aaron Rodgers, okay, and I mentioned this last week, with his contract of $50 million per year, every single minute that he plays during the regular season, he is paid $146,000 per minute. Every minute. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So, and, it's what the market dictates. It's what the league is paying. So more power to these guys. I never begrudge anybody who has great talent or something to share, and they determine what the market pays them. So, way to go, Aaron Rodgers. Congratulations to Deshaun Watson. It has to have been a nightmare for you over the last year with all these allegations. 22 allegations does not look good for you, but a federal judge looked at each and every case, and there is no criminal proceedings going forward. So it's got to be a tremendous relief for Deshaun, and it's got to be a wonderful payday. It's got to be just incredible for him. I mean, the only thing is, he's probably not used to is playing in Cleveland. He's going to have to get used to playing in cold weather. Remember, he came from Clemson, and he was in Houston, so there's not a lot of cold weather in those two venues. Mayfield, again, we'll see what's going to happen with him. The Steelers made a nice move. I'm extremely excited. They picked up Mitch Trubisky. He was backing up Josh Allen for the Bills. But remember, Mitch Trubisky was a second overall pick when he was drafted. So I think the Steelers, and we signed him to a 2-year deal, hey, we'll give him 2 years. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's so much better than Mason Rudolph. Unfortunately, I think he's going to have to go find another team. But he was always destined to be a backup. He's not bad in a pinch. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, but he's definitely not going to be a team that you can stake your franchise on and take you deep into the playoffs. So, Mitch Trubisky, you've got my blessing, and let's just see. Let's see what you got. Hopefully you can get the ball out to Najee, when you get in trouble. And maybe the Steelers can pick up, we lost Juju Smith-Schuster. He just moved and signed a $10.5 million deal with Kansas City. We're happy to see Juju go. We're happy for him. He did great for us for 5 years. He knocked Burfict on his butt after Burfict, who, if you guys remember back in the 2015 playoffs, cheap-shotted Antonio Brown. Cheap-shotted him so badly that it changes the trajectory of his entire life. I still think he's suffering from post-head injury. Excuse me. But AB has not been the same ever since that hit. Well, Juju had a chance to get him back and knocked Burfict on his butt, and I put that on my Twitter feed today and my Facebook feed because it's one of the best hits I've seen. An offensive guy taking out a defensive person with a completely legal block. All right, folks, well, I'm going to start watching some basketball here. Let me give you one last update here on this North Carolina game. Okay, 67-53. It looks like Baylor's making a little bit of a run here. Is that player that got thrown out for North Carolina affecting them? There looks like there's about 8 minutes and 18 seconds left, so I'm going to get down to the bar. I'm going to have a beer, and I'm going to watch this game finish out. Remember, we are at Brothers Bar and Grill in the shops of Northfield. It is a beautiful, absolute, what we call in Colorado, a bluebird day, okay? Chamber of Commerce lives for these days, and it's what keeps people here in Denver. Everybody comes out for the snow, but they stay for the summer and for the sun, because this is one of the sunniest states and one of the best weather states you can find. So come down to Brothers. There's a wraparound patio. You can sit outside, watch the games, come inside for the drink specials and the food specials, and let's watch 16 great basketball games today. All right, folks, remember, get out there every day and earn it, as Tom Hanks said at the end of Saving Private Ryan. Check back tomorrow. We're going to do another show tomorrow at 10:30. We're going to pick up all the action from today, and we'll talk a little bit about the hockey games. We'll see if Air Force can pull it out and win. They won a really close game. I didn't get a chance to really talk about that, but we'll be talking about them tomorrow. All right, folks, have a great day. Come down to Brothers mezzanine section or at the bar and ask for Dr. Jimbo Love. I'm here for you, and Seth is as well. He'll be back tomorrow. All kidding aside, Seth was not going to St. Cloud State for the interview, and he will be back tomorrow. So we look forward to that as well. Have a great day, folks. If I can get this thing to turn on. Continue to have a great day, folks.